God, I have been so faithful in you. I have been, I've never done something that's really, really bad. And why this thing happened to me? Like, it's not fair. Like, I was not sure who was to blame.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I'm going to interview someone who will share her experience, her story, her testimony about her love life and about her breakups. And I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate with her, especially when it comes to her breakups and her struggles to deal with it, to overcome it. So without further ado, let's call her right now. Would you like to introduce yourself first and then we talk?
Okay, so I'm Cindy. I'm actually her cousin. Like, yeah. And then uh, I'm a teacher, but now I'm currently a full-time student in Harvard University in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
You move from Indonesia to US, where it's in Indonesia it's a law that you have to have a religion, and now you move to the US. I mean, being an atheist or agnostic there is very normal. So how you deal with that?
I would say that that's one of my culture shocks of being here. Like, I was aware about this thing even before I came here. Actually, I mean, like, we know about that from the movies or from the book that we read. Experiencing it yourself, it's quite, it's quite weird because it's something very different with what I believe and with what I experienced back in Indonesia. In one area, it helps me to appreciate people with their different kind of thinking, and then being aware that what you believe is your own personal and spiritual journey, and then you can decide whatever you want. At the same time, it also challenges the way I think, and then it kind of, gives me the opportunity to really think about, do I really understand about what I believe?
We are so used to take control over everything that's in us, because that's the only thing that we can control. We can't control other people, we can control things that are outside our body. When people say you have to let go and let God take control, it's not easy. What about you? Have you let go?
I think it's always been a process. Like, even though like, you came into a point in your life when you realize that, I believe that it was God who did that. But sometimes after that happened, you would go through the process over and over again, right? It's a like a lifelong learning when you really were to be firm to say that, okay, I'm gonna leave everything to God and let God take control. Well, we're still people, human, and then it's not gonna be that easy to, let things go. So I should say that I'm still in a process of learning.
There are people who, when they go through that kind of situation, they become very disappointed at God, and they decide to, you know what, even if God exists, He doesn't care about me. Is there any point in your life where you start to feel that way about God?
2 years ago, I had a big plan about my life, and then I came to the point where I have to call off my wedding. It's something that I never thought about before, but it happened a few months before it happened. Before the D-Day, it was not because the wedding was canceled, but it was more than that. Because when you plan for a wedding, you have planned for your life at least 10 years, and then when I got to decide to call it off, it was a big defender for my life. I experienced what people say about failure, and it was a big. I thought it was a big failure of my life. God, I have been so faithful in you. I have been, I've never done something that's really, really bad. And why what this thing happened to me? Like, it's not fair. Like, I was not sure who was to blame at the time. I hate that it happened. It happened to me. It happened when I was away from my family. I had like a lot of thoughts of ending my own life. The plain thought that I had at the time is I didn't want to end my own life. I was afraid of the thought that I'm gonna go to hell. It was actually what stopped me from doing silly thing. I really thought about that, but then the idea of, are you sure you're gonna do that? God won't be happy with that. And then I know that you're disappointed to God, but really, are you going to do this to God? My point it is really important to have the idea of God planted in our head because when you get things straight, if that one simple small idea planted in your head, I believe that it was bad.
How did you deal with the heartache and then the disappointment that you felt when, during your breakups or your canceled plans?
I let myself go through all of the sadness and then disappointment and then the anger. I'm glad that I didn't skip that part. Sometimes when you want to present like the best version of yourself in front of the people, sometimes you just want to take the shortcut and think that, oh, okay, I'm over it. I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just not right to skip that important stage where you have to be sad, where you have to be disappointed, where you have to be angry. That's something natural that you have to go through. I quit going to church for several months, not because I got myself down from God. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want people to, have other kind of thought that was not actually true. I just want I just wanted to limit myself from other kind of distraction that could add more burden. But then I still communicated with the key people in my life, sharing to them about what I went through. And then I told them the reason why I didn't come to church, and they totally understood. Do whatever you think you need, but at the same time, they still support me in prayer, and then they still ask about how I was doing at the time. I've been asking myself a lot, am I happy right now, even though I'm not in a relationship? You know what I'm saying? Am I thinking that I'm not enough? That's why I need somebody else to complete me. And I'm glad that I'm not in a relationship now because I'm still thinking about that question.
What about people who feel like I need to be in a relationship? If I'm alone, I'll feel lonely. There are some people who think like that. Do you agree with that, or do you have anything to say about that?
What is the guarantee that you are going to be happier when you are with somebody else than you are now? Can you imagine if you're not happy and then you meet somebody else who is probably not happy too? Okay, you might feel happy in the beginning of your relationship, but then when it gets longer and longer, I don't think that it's gonna stay the same. After that, you will think, well, okay, I don't think that I'm happy in this relationship, and then you break up, and that you're gonna start another relationship again and again, and it's gonna be like an unending circle. I have to be happy with myself. I have to be content with myself before I start a new relationship so that it would work.
To those who are still struggling with that, dealing with breakups, is there anything that you would like to say about, you know, from what you experience?
I would say that isn't it better to happen when you are when you are still dating rather than when you are in the next stage of relationship? Now, if you're experiencing it right now, no matter how bad it is, just see the positive side of it. If it happens because God wants it to happen, God wants it to happen, if it's according to God's plan, I believe that there's something better in the future, better than us. He's the writer of our life.
What I learned from my life is that sometimes our situation don't change, but because God wants us to change first, and it's not easy because sometimes we demand our situation to change, and then we'll change afterwards. I agree with you.
I have a minute to say this. I'm reminded to what one illustration that goes together with it. I don't know if you've heard about this or not. Just imagine a kid who really wants a balloon. Yeah, he cries because he wants that. But then the balloon just fly, and then his parent asked him to pray to God, to ask God to help him because he really wants this balloon. But then after he prays, he doesn't want the balloon anymore. He finds the peace of the prayer and thinking, okay, I don't need the balloon anymore. That's what happened in our life sometimes. We just probably are not aware of that.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for sharing your life story.
You. And
I think it's sometimes we just need to hear other people's story in order for them to help themselves, to stand back again. And that's why it's very nice to have you here. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to give this a like and subscribe to this channel and See you in my next testimony time video. Bye!